say on Shabbos and Yom Tov we don't take a hot bath or hot shower. Let's try to understand where is the beginning of this idea. Where do we find this in Chazal? We'll take a look at the Seidus. We start off with a Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Mem. The Gemara says around 10 lines or so from the bottom of the page. Shirabu oivre avera ischilu leser ambantiyas shokroch ambantiyas ischilu leser is how you read it. Shirabu oivre avera ischilu leser, a brisa, the middle of the ending of a brisa from Tanoim. When there became many people that were oivre avera, they were no longer, they were oivre avera, they weren't listening, they were doing averas. Ischilu leser, Chazal started to Assur rechitza, washing oneself on Shabbos in hot water. The Brisa concludes on Batiyah Shal Krochin, city bathhouses, V'tayil b'hem in Yechoshish, one is allowed to walk through them. One does not have to be concerned because you're walking through them. It's as if you are participating in bathing. Now the Gemara, that's the conclusion of the Brisa. The Brisa starts a few lines earlier, but we're just reading the ending, well, that's what's relevant. The Gemara asks now, My oivre avera. The Brisa itself was not clear. What's this? Who are these oivre avera? What were they doing? Why were they doing it? Why were Chazal asking washing? We don't find anywhere in Torah. One of the lamitas malachas is it's also to wash yourself on Shabbos. So why did Chazal ask? In the hot water. The Amar Reb Shimon ben Pazi, Amar Reb Yeshua ben Levi. Reb Shimon ben Pazi said the name of Yeshua ben Levi. Mishum bar kapara, the name of bar kapara.
What we talking about the not showering the 9 days, there's nothing to do with
No. David says we should better talk about the 9 days, the 3 weeks.
Maybe it segues into it.
Huh?
I'm sure it's gonna. No.
Wasn't planning on it, but we could get there. We could tie it in. In the beginning, on Shabbos, people would wash themselves. What's the problem? You can wash yourselves in hot water, but it was hot water that was heated up before Shabbos. You can't heat up water on Shabbos. That's cooking. Now, even if the fire pre-existed before Shabbos, you had a fire already turned on before Shabbos. So you didn't have to turn on a fire. However, how are you cooking hot water on Shabbos? So, they used to bathe on Shabbos in Chamen Shehuch Me'er Shabbos, hot water that was heated up before Shabbos.
How would it stay hot?
Maybe they covered it, maybe...
Before Shabbos and then Shabbos.
Well, what happens if you have a... Right, but maybe you had a big bath. You had a big pool.
Could have been Erev Shabbos.
Big pool, a big bath.
You know Shabbos, the whole night is...
They bathe themselves very different then,
Probably the same night.
No, the Shabbos.
They used to go to a bathhouse those days.
There was no...
A bathhouse, there was a big pool.
What is that?
And they
Underneath used to have wood with fire. Everybody come and wash themselves. There was no bathroom in the shower in the house.
No, but here it doesn't say was fire in the wood.
That's the way
He said warm it up Erev Shabbos, and
Right.
Shabbos afternoon they took a shower.
Right.
It wasn't in their house though. You're right. They didn't have a bathroom. Was just a toilet.
There was no toilet in the house. There's no bathroom.
You're right.
You're right.
It wasn't so hot. It wasn't so hot, but it was still. You know, they probably they covered it up, and it was a big pool. Listen, it still was good for washing, right? It wasn't as good as our Shabbos bath. However, because of this problem, that it wasn't hot enough, hischilu habalonim, the caretakers of the bathhouse, lahachim b'Shabbat, they started warming it up on Shabbos.
That's a problem.
However, they knew if people are going to know that they're heating it up on Shabbos, they're not going to come to their bathhouse, to their merchatz. So they used to say, Me'er Shabbos, well, we heated this up for Me'er Shabbos.
So they lie.
Yeah, they made up a story. Surprising. So Chazal came along and said, Assur Sachami, you're not allowed to use hot water on Shabbos. Even if it's made on Erev Shabbos, You can't bathe on Shabbos in hot water. If you know hot water being used, people are not going to come to this issur.
We're going to talk about Yom Tov at all today?
We'll see. Assur is a chamin, v'itiru is a zeh. However, Chazal still allowed you to go into the schwitz bad, to go and get into sauna. They still allowed it. But however, they would still wash and bathe themselves in hot water. They would claim, we are just sweating. Also, and it says Zayah, so Chazal asked them to have Zayah. You can't go and sweat. However, they allowed them to bathe in natural springs, hot springs. Tveria, in the city of Tveria and Yisrael, there are natural springs. So wherever Chazal want to talk about natural springs, the term they give is Chamei Tveria, the hot water of Tveria. But it doesn't mean a Dafka Tveria. It could be in Colorado, it could be in other places. Wherever you have hot springs. However, they were still bathing in water that was heated up by fire. They would claim, that we bathed in Chamei Tveria in natural springs. So also the Chamei Tveria. So Chazal asked them to have hot springs. However, they were mad to them to do cold water. You can bathe yourself in cold water. However, Rosh and Adavar, they saw it was too difficult for them. People wanted to bathe, it was too difficult for them, cold was not enough. So they allowed them, they were matter for them to do hot springs. Hot springs are okay. However, Zayah sweating is still Assur. Going to sauna.
The sauna.
Schwitz bad, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Now, L'maisa, the Rashba and the Ran, two of the Rishonim, big Rishonim, they're very bothered with this. We're talking here not about Mechalei Shabbos. We're talking about from here, the Mechalei Shabbos, we don't make Gezeris, decrees, and Tankonis. Mechalei Shabbos, they're not Bechalal listening to Chazal. So we're talking about from Yidden. So what's Pshat over here that Balonim, that these Balonim, these these bath, the ones that took care of the bath, that they would actually heat up water on Shabbos? What are we talking about over here? So they say that we have to interpret this Gemara a little bit non-literal. The Gemara said, the Brisa said, the Gemara explains, Rabbi Shimon Levi said, that the Balonim would actually heat up the water on Shabbos. Says the Rash from the Ran, these two Rishonim, that no, the Issur was a different Issur. They wouldn't actually cook on Shabbos. That's not feasible. What happened is, Erev Shabbos, they were putting up the water. However, people wanted hot on Shabbos. And it was sitting, they would keep the fire on underneath the bathhouse. They would have like a fire somehow underneath the bath.
But not hot enough.
Heating it up. But it wasn't hot enough. So they would, Shema Yechata, Chazal saw that the Balonim, the caretakers, were instinctively stirring the fire. They were stirring the coals and everything. And therefore the heat was, the fire was becoming larger and the water was hotter. So that's something that we can understand, that, you have something on the fire, so you feel, you're so used to stirring it. That was those days. These days it's sitting in the kitchen and turning up and down the flame. So you're in the kitchen, it's very natural. You see a pot of the fire, so you flip it up and down. So the Balonim were coming accustomed to the fact that they were putting it up before Shabbos. They were not close turning off the fire. They kept the fire on. And they were having this issue where they were coming to being negligent, and they were coming to stirring the fire. It wasn't like they thought it out, we're going to go and be Mechal Shabbos. It was like a natural instinctive issue they were having. They were just stirring the fire, stoking it, because they were forgetting. It's like a reflex. It wasn't mamish a thought out issue. So this is more easier to understand. What bothers them really is, the Rashba around, is a Gemara in Gittin. The Gemara says that from regular Shomer Torah mitzvahs, from people are not Leinechshdu Yisrael al Shabbos. They are not suspected of being Mechal Shabbos. Shabbos is one of the things that Klal Yisrael was careful with. They are suspected about Shemitah, Shavuos, different other areas. They're suspected. We not necessarily trust everyone. But Shabbos, they're trustworthy. They keep Shabbos. So therefore, because of this Gemara in Gittin, they feel necessary to interpret this Gemara differently.
There's a talk in the Gemara about the caretakers, who they were, their qualifications, were they Yidden, were they non-Yidden?
Very good point. 1 minute. We'll get to 1 minute. Doesn't say. But Pashas, they were Yidden because they're Oivre Aveira. Oivre Aveira, the people doing Aveiras.
How about if it's a hot day and they're going to the beach? Hot water in the beach. Nobody make it hot.
It doesn't get hot so quickly, the beach water.
No, it's much hotter than normal.
It takes. One hot day is not going to make it.
You go to Tel Aviv in Shabbatot now in Israel. No, it's a million people going there. It's hot, you know.
So swimming is a problem on Shabbos, but bathing,
because of the
bathing is not a problem. Chamei Tveria, natural waters are not a problem on Shabbos. You're allowed to go and bathe. You want to enjoy yourself, go in the water. But swimming, you're not allowed to swim.
You don't have
so it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. Not swimming.
Maybe by mistake your bathing suit, it's wet and you.
Okay, you have other shilas about carrying the water and different skita, a lot of other issues. But the actual act of going and washing oneself, bathing oneself in the hot water is not a problem. And, similarly, if people want to go to fancy springs, people go to hot springs. There's a lot of vacation resorts that have hot springs. Not an issue. Because the Bryce clearly says he tirol Chamei Tveria. Chamei Tveria is mutter.
That's how we go to our mikvah.
Now, no, that's not natural. Hot mikvah is problematic. We're not going to discuss it this week, but hot mikvahs and Shabbos are problematic because
It shouldn't be not. It's not natural.
right, it's not natural. Not natural. Now, we'll discuss it with Hashem another time. Now,
Yeah, but you know that the mikveh is different because there they don't put the fire or they put it night before. It's all the time fire.
We'll get to
So nobody puts new fire.
now, one of the things that that pushed the Rashba and the Ran to learn this way in the Babali is they looked in the Yerushalmi. The Gemara Yerushalmi in Shabbos also talks about the Gzeira of Rechitza, the decree that Chazal forbade bathing on Shabbos, and they describe it somewhat similar to the way they're describing it. They say that the problem with the Balana was that they were putting in the water before Shabbos, and that was an issue. It doesn't actually explain that they were stoking the fire, but it seems to be a different explanation in the Bavli. And the way the Rashba interpret it seems like Yishalmi means what we want to say, stoking the fire. So we're going to actually interpret the Bavli, our Gemara over here, the same way, because we have a clear Gemara in Gittin next to Yisrael Shabbos Lakas. You know, we have a problem here. We have Yishalmi learns one way. So you can have a machlekes Bav Yerushalmi, the two Talmud and the two Gemaras can learn differently. You have it all the time, but you have Yerushalmi learns that way. We have a Gemara in Gittin says that either are not Choshen and Sham. We're not going to make takonis for Klal Yisrael, regular Yidden from Yidden Klal Yisrael, not suspected of not keeping Shabbos. So therefore, they want to interpret this as being a little bit non-literal. Now, the halacha l'maisa, it's not so negay really the reason. We know it's also to bathe based on this Brisa. So what's the reason the Rashba and the Ran explain is based on the chash, the concern Hashem Yechatim even going to stoke the fire. So L'maisa Shulchan Aruch itself does not itself give any reasons. The Poskim do not discuss. They just say it's also. They don't explain the reasoning behind it. The Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch is very into not only saying the halacha but giving the reason. So he actually brings the reason. Let's take a look inside. I wanted to make a copy of the Rashba and the Ran, but I wasn't able to make a copy. But we'll look on the third page. We have in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch Simin Shin Chavav Dinin Rechitza B'Shabbos Sif Aleph. Assur Chachamim Luches Kol Gufay Ayrubi B'Chamim. Chachamim Assur to wash with entire body or majority of the body in hot water. Beinim hu b'kli, beinim karka. Whether the hot water is in a bath or it's in the ground. in a pool. I feel the hoch me'er Shabbos, even the hot water is heat up Erev Shabbos. Why? Here he explains the reason. The balonim would heat up the water on Shabbos. They would say, Erev Shabbos we did this Erev Shabbos, we heated it up. This is like the Brisa says. The Gemara. Now he adds in what comes from the Ran. The Yisrael Shabbos is l'chal b'zod. Klal Yisrael are not suspected to willingly go b'mechal Shabbos. Mikol Mokim, still more, this was the concern. They will put wood underneath the cold water, right before it was dark. And the fire would burn the entire Shabbos. And would heat up the water that's on top. They wouldn't actually obviously wash themselves in that pot. They would take that pot and pour it into the pool and pour it on themselves. This was also because of a gzeira, a decree. Maybe they will forget and stoke the coals once it's dark. Atkan for what's the negaya for what we want to learn. That is basically how the Rashba and Ran interpret the Gemara. Now, going back to the Gemara on the first page, Rashi over here doesn't say anything. Rashi doesn't say anything. It doesn't seem, if Rashi doesn't say anything, it seems to be he understood the Gemara to be literal. That they would actually heat up the water on Shabbos, these Balanim, the caretakers. He doesn't explain anything differently. If he held that there was a new interpretation of this Gemara that's a non-literal interpretation, he would offer it. Rashi didn't seem fit to explain anything. The Gemara is very simple. It's an obvious Gemara. So obviously Rashi is understanding that these Balanim actually heat up the water on Shabbos. So this is a kasha that many Achreinim are bothered with. Many of the later authorities feel what Rashi doesn't agree with the Gemara in Gittin, that Klal Yisrael is not suspected, not choshed, to be chalab and mezid on Shabbos. So what does Rashi do with it? Some of them even bring a Rashi earlier, a blot earlier. Rashi says regarding another issue, Rashi does bring down that Gemara, that Klal Yisrael is not suspected. So if so, why does Rashi not offer some type of explanation to this Gemara? Even if he didn't want to learn like the Rashba and the Ran, maybe he should have given his own interpretation. Now, regarding what you brought up, the Pnei Yeshua actually says he doesn't understand why the Rashba and the Ran feel the need to make a whole non-literal interpretation of the Gemara. He says maybe these Balanim, the caretakers, weren't Yidden. Maybe they were Goyim. Maybe they were Goyim. Who said? Yeah, they were Goyim. They had Goyish caretakers. Maybe it was a city. It wasn't the. So he doesn't see why they have to make this. So what was the shaila? If it's Goy, what was the problem? The problem was the Chazal do not want us using the Shabbos Goy, telling the Shabbos Goy to do malachas for us on Shabbos. So it was an Isser not min HaTorah, it was an Isser mitzvah that Yidden were being transgressing an Isser of Amil Nachri. They were telling the Balanim, the caretakers, please heat up water for us. So it wasn't a problem in HaTorah, it wasn't a biblical issue. However, it was an issue that midrabanan you're not allowed to tell a goy unless there's a certain reason for it. The specific case is when. But a lot of us sometimes misinterpret that when you have a goy, a Shabbos guy can do whatever you want for you. No, the Shabbos guy can't cook you a meal for you. You can't go and put up. You can't. Certain things the Shabbos guy can't do. We say, you need heat in the house. You can call the goy because people are cold and people get sick. If it's extremely very hot out and it's very very humid and you have older people or children that could maybe faint, or if it's really hot for everyone, it's very extreme. It's a tsar, so you can have a guy turn on for the air conditioner. If it's just some comfort level, you can't have the guy turn it on. And so there's different halachas. There's many cases. If it's shilas, if it's a mitzvah, if it's a tzarech gadol, so Rav has to be consulted. It's not everything is mutter.
You can tell a guy the water is cold. That's it. So he will understand himself to put more wood, more fire.
Not so pasha. It's not. Even if a guy does something for you on their own, if a guy comes to your house and turns on your light, You're not allowed to have a,
No.
you're not allowed to have enough in the light, but if you don't have to leave your house, but you're not allowed to have a goy turn a light for
We
you.
learned this once already. This whole.
I don't know if we learned it. I did not. Maybe my brother taught me.
Learned this. It was very not so perfect.
Yeah, my brother did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe Rabbi Kriegsman came in and did it.
I thought you're not
His brother.
allowed to tell him specifically what you need. And you can hint at it.
It's complicated. But I don't
Very
want to
not
get into
perfect.
it.
You'd be surprised.
It's very, very complicated. One of the reasons why people don't know about the issues because it's very complicated. Yeah, and it's very complicated also.
Not
And
what you think it is.
a lot of the Rabbanan themselves find it's very difficult sugya. It's a very difficult sugya. Well, yeah, you have to ask about the shayla. You know, you're having the guy just clean up the table in the house, sweep the floor. There's no malacha being done. But once you're having a guy do work for you, turn on lights for you, that's already very big shayla. Turning off lights is less of an issue because it's you're not having benefit. It's off, but you're not supposed to tell directly to the guy. You would have to say like, "Oh, I can't sleep. The lights are on," or something like that. And the guy is, it's complicated. I don't want to get into it. But according to the Bnei Yeshua, he said, "I don't understand why the Rashba and the Ran feel the need to have this whole new pshat in the Gemara." Let's just say that, of course, the Yidden were not doing anything with Torah Assur. They were just being negligent in telling the Balanim who were Goyim that they should go and heat up the water for them on Shabbos. So they were only being over on a Derabanan, and that we don't find any Gemara that says that they were not going to be over. Adarab, we find the Gemara that Amilo and Achri telling, by most people feel comfortable telling the Shabbos Goy to do. They feel it's mut, everything's mut. So Maisa, the Bnei Yeshua just asks Kasha, and most, no one else brings up this idea. But you have the Bnei Yeshua as Mahalach.
Assur, it's not Pasha. Are they two different things? It's not Pasha, meaning it's beating around the bush, or is it Assur when you say it's not Pasha?
Regarding what?
Anything.
Yeah, you have to ask
I don't want to get into Milonachri details. You have to have shilas.
So when you say the word not Pasha, in general,
It's a shaila.
it's a shaila.
There's certain times it's mutter, sometimes also how you say it, how you do it. It's complicated. It is complicated. I tell you, the Chazal clearly said when it came, if it's very cold out, it's very cold, you can tell the guy to clearly turn on the heat. If it's extreme heat, you can tell the guy there was no air conditioner those days, but comparison to extreme, if it's extreme heat where people can get sick and things like that, or there's older people with children. So even if the regular adults are okay with it, and then you wouldn't be allowed to tell the guy to turn on the air conditioner. When it comes to lights in general, you can't have a guy turn on a light for you on Shabbos. It's mamash, it's a big shayla. Every situation has to be judged, you know. So an older person wants to come to shul on Shabbos with a wheelchair, right? Everything having a guy push him in the street, there's no way. No, there's all these things have to be taken.
You're going to have made it worse. You don't have to throw out the whole pot.
So towards the end, he wanted to be sure. So his thing was
Wouldn't make
electronic.
it worse than it would have happened anyway.
They gave him the koyak to want to get out for going Shabbos. It did a lot for him.
Right. Okay. So the Maisa is Rashi here does not say a word. So some of the Rishonim understand. Like wonder how is Rashi gonna how is Rashi gonna answer this? So we're gonna take we're gonna take a look at an Amud earlier. The next page of an Amud earlier. The Amud earlier, middle of the Amud, Amud of Ika Bar Chananya.
Before the white one.
Yeah, one line before the wide line.
You didn't take Aaron, you didn't take
Now, you know what? We're going to skip one line. We're going to start the next line. The middle of the line is the Tanya. We're going to learn a brisa here. The Tanya, the brisa said, was taught in a brisa. L'ishtatif adam kol gufay b'mechamavitzah. We have a three-way machlokes here. Well, yishtatif adam. Yishtatif means not actually bathing yourself in the water, pouring hot water on yourself. Like today would be like a shower. Those days they would take a bucket and pour it on themselves. Leishtatif Adam Kol Gufay Bein Bechamim Mitzayin Divrei Meir. Meir was the most machmir. He held, second page, one is not allowed to take a shower, pour hot water or cold water upon one's body in Shabbos. The previous price that we learned on that was on the next Amud was talking about actual rechitza, bathing in it. This one's talking already about pouring hot water on yourself. Not you're entering the water, but you're pouring it on yourself. Reb Shimon said it's all mutter. Hot water, cold water, it's all mutter. Reb Yehuda says b'cham and Assur, it's ein mutter. He goes in the middle. Hot water is problematic. Cold water is mutter. The halacha, the Gemara later on explains, the halacha is like Reb Yehuda, that hot water, even if you're not doing a rechitza, but you're doing a shituf, you're pouring in yourself hot water, like a hot shower al derech, is Assur. Hot showers are problematic either way, just turning on the hot water, it is also problematic, you can be turning on the hot water. It's not like we have hot water ready. You have hot water, might be turning on the boiler, it depends how your system is set up in your house, how your boiler system, there's different systems, how they work. Now that's what we can't turn on hot water on Shabbos. Even if we just want to wash our hands. On Shabbos, you're allowed to wash your hands, your face, and your feet. Panav, Yadav, and Raglav, you're allowed to wash in hot water that was heated up yesterday, the day before. And Chazal never asked that. You're not allowed to enter into hot water fully, or to pour hot water on yourself. Shituf, like Rabbi Yehuda said, Allah is like him on Shabbos. But if you only did Panav, Yadav, or Raglav, it's things that people normally do, the ones that get most dirty. Your hands, your feet, your face. You know, feet those days, people didn't wear socks, they wear sandals, or they walk barefoot, so those are the areas that were the most get dirty, so people want to wash it. So Chazal allowed you to do that on Shabbos, as long as the hot water is heated up from yesterday. You can't heat up water on Shabbos. Right? Now, so Yehuda says, B'cham and Assur b'tzayin motor. Amar Reb Chista said Reb Chista on this brayso. Machloikis b'kli. The machloikis of this brayso is in a keli. If you're doing this from water, pouring yourself water that was heated up in a keli, in a vessel, utensil. Ava b'karka, if the water is in the ground, hot water in a pool in the ground, and you're pouring it on yourself, it's mutter. However, the Gemara asks on that and says, we have a Mishnah earlier. The Mishnah says a story over there, and the Chachamim asked bathing even in the ground, the karka. So how can you tell me that water that's in the ground, hot water in the ground is mutter? We're not talking about natural springs. Hot water heated up by the fire, but it's in a pool in the ground. So Eli Itmar Hachi Itmar. This is how you have to read Reb Chista. Reb Chista said Machloikis bekarka. The whole price of the three-way Machloikis is when the hot water is in the ground, whether or not you're allowed to pour it on yourself or not. Ava Bakli Divehakelos. But in a utensil, everyone agrees it's Assur. That's kind of the Gemara, what I want to bring up from the Gemara. Comes out, the halacha l'maisa, the Gemara continues on saying, halacha could be Yehuda. The halachas like Yehuda, not only are not allowed to be roichitz on Shabbos and hot water, you're not allowed to do l'shtatif, to pour hot water on yourself, and that doesn't make a difference whether it's in a keli or even in a karka. In a keli, all the three opinions in the brayso would agree that it's Assur. Regarding karka, if the hot water is in the ground and I'm putting it in the keli and pouring it on myself, then it is a three machlokes in the brayso. We anyways hold like a Yehuda that it's Assur. So it's Assur either way, karka, keli, there's no differences. However, we have to understand, Chista had made a differentiation between hot water found in a keli, hot water found in the karka. What's the difference? Wherever the hot water is, why should there be a difference? Keli, karka.
The keli wasn't warm now. The karka is warm now because the way they did it.
So Rashi says like this. Look at Rashi. Let's take a look on the left column. There's an arrow there. The kli. Says Rashi, why is there more logic to say that we should chazal asur keli more than the karka? The haraya oimer, because someone who sees someone washing oneself in a keli, oimer hayoim huchmu. He says today this water must have been heated up today because how is it still hot? And it's clear that this is not natural water because it's in a vessel. It's not the natural spring. But I'll see the one who is seeing this will conclude Well, he will come lahachim b'Shabbos to heat up water on Shabbos. How will he heat up water on Shabbos? Here Rashi gives a very interesting example. He doesn't say he's going to go heat up water, put cold water in the fire and heat it up. Bishul. He's going to go, for example, nois and soin and b'cham. These are the key three words. Nois and soin and b'cham. The raya, someone who sees one doing this, will conclude the water was heated up Shabbos, and I can do the same thing. I can go and pour cold water into hot water. Rashi did not suspect that the person who sees is going to think that the actual person took cold water, put on a fire, he cooked on the Shabbos. That people know is Assur. However, Rashi said a person can come to make the mistake and think if he sees you bathing yourself washing yourself from hot water in a utensil in a bath, that it's okay to mix cold water into hot water to heat it up. Let's say you have really hot water, you put in some cold water to either bring down the temperature of the hot water or to heat up the more water. So you put cold water in and it gets heated up. So you're not actually directly heating up cold water and water on the fire. You're heating up cold water and other hot water. That's also Assur min HaTorah. However, people can make a misconception and think, what am I doing? If I have a hot pot of water, I take it off the fire on Shabbos. I put cold water in it. It's Assur. There's a kli rishon on the fire, it's really hot. I cannot pour a cup of cold water in there. I'm heating up the cold water. It's becoming hot. It's a problem of cooking on Shabbos, just like it was on the fire. However, people don't feel it's really such an issue as much as putting it on the fire. When you have a fire right in front of me, people know you're not going to take a pot of cold water and put it directly in the fire. So Rashi's example explains to us that Rashi also was concerned about, he also understood that people are not going to be over Shabbos, blatantly over Shabbos. And people would make a mistake and would think, if I could take the cold water. So come along some of the Achrayim and say, let's put these two Gemaras together. We have here this brisa here. How Rashi understands this brisa is that the concern is not that they would actually heat up water on the fire, but they would heat up water by putting cold water into the hot water.
This goes on today. Good milk.
Huh?
Good milk on Shabbos.
You have to be careful. Milk you could put into a klisheni. If you take the hot water and pour it into klisheni, then you can put the liquid into it.
Once the hot water is in a klisheni, then you can put it directly into it?
Yeah. Liquids.
Yeah.
Liquids and spices, yeah. Now, L'maisa, Achrayim say, we'll have to get to it. We actually one time, many years ago, we gave Shirim and Bishlam, maybe
I remember it.
7 years ago. You were here then?
3-4 years ago.
I did 3-4 years ago? Maybe we repeated it again.
It's on the video.
It's on the video already? Okay. So L'maisa, some Achrayim want to say, look at this. We had a big problem, this brisa here, about balonim. These caretakers heating up on Shabbos. The Rashban said, obviously they weren't heating up on Shabbos. It must be it was before Shabbos they put it up. The problem was they were stoking the fire. However, on the Achrayim say, how did Rashi understand? The Rashi doesn't offer an interpretation. Say, Pasha, look at the Amud before. We see how Rashi understood the brisa that what was the reason why keli should be a problem. Because people are seeing that it's heated up hot water on Shabbos. They would think, you heat it up on Shabbos, and they would think I'm allowed to pour cold water into hot water. Said Achrayim, let's put this Rashi, let's extend the Rashi here. Rashi also understands that these balonim are not going to actually, these from Yidden, how they understand, that's from Yidden, are not going to go and actually heat up cold water on Shabbos. So it must be that they were pouring cold water into hot water. They had a lot of hot water on Shabbos and needed to make more water. People were coming. They would pour cold water and have more hot water. They would heat it up on Shabbos. And they would heat up the water on Shabbos. So they weren't heating up directly in the fire. This is a very geschmack pshat. I understand Rashi over here. So both Rashi, the other Rishonim, all have their own pshat over here to explain. They explain the Rashba and the Ran is because of a concern maybe you'll stoke the fire, which is a shaila of malacha, making a fire on Shabbos, making the fire higher, fanning the fire. However, Rashi understands a shaila bishul of cooking, but not the standard cooking directly on a fire. That they wouldn't do. But the concern was people might come to heat up cold water and hot water off the fire. Okay, that's how.
Makes sense.
A little bit of a pilpul over here, but this is the.
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah. Now,
Why the Rashba have to come up with the idea that it might be a goy?
no, the Rashba doesn't say it's a goy. The Rashba also understands either. Therefore, he says Erev Shabbos. The Pnei Yeshua said he doesn't understand why the Rashba and the Ran want to interpret it as Erev Shabbos. Just say that the Balanim are goyim. Rashi Pshat is fine with it's not literal. Rashi Pshat is still literal. The Bryce actually says Ischilu habalanim lahachim. The balanim started to heat up on Shabbos. So Rashi still fits with the literal interpretation. They heat it up, but not to heat it directly in a fire. They put cold water into big hot pools. So they're heating it up off the fire. Rash for the Ran still remain the non-literal Pshat. On them, the Pnei Yeshua has a kasha. Why do you want to go and say not literal? I'd rather say that the balanim over here are not Yidden, that they're goyim. And once you say they're goyim, then the Chazal, then the Yidden were not being over transgressing on any Issam HaTorah, they were just transgressing on the Issam Amil Nachri, asking a good thing to the Shabbos.
It's actually that they have a difference on Shabbos, that the base mechas belong to a goy, to the city, or it's belong to a Yid. It's make a whole separate cases.
Yeah. Now I want to just discuss a little bit more. The Assur, we read the Brisa here that Chamei Tveria, hot water, there was the Chazal were matter. Originally they asked it because people were bathing in hot water, natural hot springs.
And saying that
And I'm sorry, they're bathing in really in hot water.
Regular one and
Regular water, and they were saying, but in the ending Chazal saw that it was too much for them, so they kept cold water mutter, and they kept
Chamei
Tveria. Regarding, by the way, cold water, Chazal never asked with cold water. However, later on we find from the Rishonim already that there became a minig not to bathe in cold water. Not swimming, bathing in cold water is also Assur for different shashas. Different concern because of schita, squeezing out the hair, the towel. Then they would go, cold water would be in the ocean, or the lake. There would be brown people would come out the cold water, walk with the water on them, carrying the water. There was an issue of maybe they would swim. There was other issues. So the minig became to Assur cold water. We don't bathe in cold water. The shaila is, how about showers? Showers not bathing. Showers is shtifa, pouring. Now shtifa is already more lenient. It's not the same level. So the Moshe Feinstein and Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach Zatzal, they both say that l'chatchila one should not even take a cold shower. However, if it is a humid day and one is very hot, so it's uncomfortable, one can take a cold shower on Shabbos or Yom Tov. Take a cold shower.
Oh, the being mati or what?
If one's very hot, or very humid and hot, not just every Shabbos you're going into the cold shower. That's not correct. But if you're very hot and sweaty and you're very uncomfortable, yeah, you can go.
You say that
You're humid.
One leg at a time.
What about the limbs?
Not regarding cold water. Regarding cold water, they allow you to take a shower, not a bath, a shower.
and even that, not the whole goof. You do the handfuls, do
Just
the
said-
No, they hold you could take a whole shower.
Said no.
They hold you could take a whole shower as long. This is not like the regular, like a certain shat hatzchak. If you have, let's say, you're very sweaty, it's a
You're
few
rushed,
days.
but maybe with
Let's say it's a
rush.
few days Yom Tov Shabbos or something, or it's extremely hot. You took a long walk. Something, not just a standard thing. In such a case, one could take a cold shower.
But we take a mikvah.
Oh, the real shaila comes because of mikvahs. Mikvah has two problems with it. The mikvah has step one, going into cold water. How do you
It's not
bathe in
normal.
cold water? And then the really bigger shaila is, going further back, is Chazal actually asks for hot water itself.
We have a hot water mikvah.
Hot water mikvah.
How do you do it?
How do you do it?
Or warm water.
So before we get to that, I just want to go back to hot springs. Where to go to hot springs? Hot natural springs, we said before, are mutter. I want to bring out that there is a machloikis, which two machloikis rishonim. There's a number of machloikis in about hot springs, and it's interesting, and we'll give over the machloikis in about, and then the halacha l'maisa. There's a three-way machloikis, whether hot springs are always mutter, or there are certain times that hot springs are assur. From the Bryce itself, seemed to be there's no limitations. Hitiru lahen chamitveria, Chazal or matter hot springs. The hot springs of Tveria, no problem. However, there's a Mishnah later on in Masechah Shabbos, where the Mishnah uses the term haroichetz b'mei mayra, one who did bathe oneself in hot waters of a cave, mei mayra, cave water, or mei Tveria, or hot springs of Tveria. It talks about how do you deal with a towel and with schita problems. The Mishnah goes on. The Gemara points out that the Mishnah uses the term haroichetz, someone who did bathe, meaning this is not something you're allowed to do l'chatchila. So the Gemara says, why can't you do l'chatchila chamei Tveria? The Mishnah gave two examples: mei mayra, hot water which is in a cave, or mei Tveria, hot springs of Tveria. Hot springs of Tveria are mutter. Why would the Mishnah use the term haroichetz only b'diavad? So one pshat in Tosfos is Eina Chanami. The term haroichetz is only going on the hot water in the cave. The hot water in the cave was actually heated up by fire. They just poured it in a pool in the cave because the cave those days, the cave was able to contain the heat. It was, it contained the moisture, the heat inside, and therefore the heat stayed good for Shabbos. But so therefore that you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. You're not allowed to go into hot water heat up by fire. Therefore it says haroich, it's someone who did bathe. However, chamei Tveria in a chanami, you're allowed to go, no problem. However, other Rishonim say, another pshat in Tosfos is that no, the term haroichetz goes on both cases of the Mishnah. Even chamei Tveria, it's only b'diavad to go in. We have a brayso that says l'chatchila you're allowed to go into chamei Tveria. We just learned a brayso. Explain like this: it depends what case. When the hot springs are in their natural spot, you can go in the hot springs. But if they're drawn into a pool on the ground, which it's man-made, so it's sort of like a keli, like a utensil, then it's assur. Because they learn you're not allowed to bathe in a hot water, even it's natural hot water, in a bathtub, in a bathtub or a pool over the ground. A keli you're not allowed, and not only that, even in the ground you wouldn't be allowed. If it's like a pool in the ground, it's not man-made. It's man-made, it's not natural. So if it's natural, you're allowed. If it's man-made, you're not allowed. That's a second sheet. A third sheet in Rishonim holds that no, only a keli is assur. An actual bathtub will be assur of hot springs. But in the ground, even if it's man-made, if it's in the ground, it's not a problem. To recap, we have a three-way machloikis. Some Rishonim say the Rosh holds that doesn't make a difference where the hot springs are, whether they're in a keli, whether they're in karka, they're always mutter. They're always mutter. The term haroichetz was not referring to chamei Tveria, only referring to mei mayra. Chamei Tveria always mutter. Other Rishonim say in a keli it's mutter, it's assur, but in karka it's mutter. No matter what type of karka in the ground, even if it's a man-made pool, if you drew the water in, it's in a man-made pool, not a problem. It's in the ground. It's in the karka. A third sheet is the most machmer, says not only a keli is assur, but even the karka, man-made karka, is problematic. Halacha l'mais is in the middle. Only a keli is assur, but not in the ground. That means when one goes to these hot springs, if the hot springs comes into a bathtub, you have a problem. However, if the hot water does not go into a keli, it goes in. It's either in its natural, in the natural area, or it flows into a something built into the ground. Then it's not a problem. It wouldn't be a shiloh. Halacha l'maisa.
Rabbi, question is, Chazal wanted
So if you
to
see
pray-
someone on one of these springs over there on Shabbos, in the hot springs, enjoying himself,
Yeah.
you have to know what to. You know why? He knows the halacha so well
that he can do it.
I'm not sure you're going to find such big Talmid Chacham there on Shabbos, but if you find Malamed Tzchos, that he learned the Dinim Rechitza very well, and he knows the Chilik that he's in the hot water of Tveria. It's not an issue, and it's not in a keli. It's in the carcass. It's not a problem.
I have a question. Chazal wasn't afraid. If they said Chamet Tveria, you're allowed to. People would go from far to go to Chamet Tveria. Then they have Tchum Shabbat. Whoever live in Tveria can go to Chamet Tveria. If I live far away, Chazal said you're allowed to.
This is just an example. Chamet Tveria is wherever there's any Shalayim, you also have natural springs. Just in Eretz Yisrael, the main area of hot springs was in Tveria. They always said, I'm sure if you look up, you can find out where all the hot springs are. I heard in Yerushalayim there was also. In the very big Veltz Kasha, one of the oldest questions is that all the London...
in the mikveh in Shabbos, no? Are you all frozen? In Beis Hamikdash, in Yerushalayim, in the winter, it's cold. You think all the Kohanim would live in the frozen?
the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, when he would toivel, they did warm it up for him. They had a special way they warmed it up.
See, and it's Yom Kippur.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't bring a ride from the There's a discussion on this. A Mikdash, a lot of Dini Derabanan, Shavuos is not a problem in the Beis Hamikdash. No, something had to do with the actual avodah, like a carbon. You have to light a fire in Shabbos. You have to put the carbon on the Beis Be'ach. There's no Shabbos when it comes to the avodah. But something which is not the actual avodah itself. The Kohen Gadol being comfortable in the mikveh Shabbos on Yom Kippur, and he goes 5 times in the mikveh Yom Kippur, is not part of the avodah Beis Hamikdash. You should feel comfortable. But in the Beis Hamikdash, Chazal did not forbid certain dinei derabanans would never apply in the Beis Hamikdash. Shavuos. Eish is a lashon Eish Shavuos b'Mikdash. So now, there was a way how they found a way. They had a hot iron piece that they would put into the water, to warm up the water for the Kohen Gadol. A hot iron metal.
A hot metal.
That was heated up, sitting there all
Similar to the radiator that we have
and he would put it into the hot water in the morning, and he would have a warm mikveh on Shabbat, the Kippur. Kohen Gadol had a very hard job. He could be very busy.
Very.
Very busy.
They will make jacuzzi for the Kohen Gadol.
Yeah, but we go to the mikveh.
Yeah, we didn't get to the mikveh. Anyway, I want to go a little further. Lagabe hot springs. There's another machloikis. We know that bathing in hot springs is not a problem, as long as it's not in a keli. Some Rishonim held even a keli is mutter, but la halacha we hold keli is also. However, what about a sauna, sweating yourself from the hot water of Tveria? Seemingly that shouldn't be a problem. A lot of bathe mice in it, for sure. A lot of sweat. Sweat is like a further extension of the gzeira. So that's how a lot of Rishonim understand. However, the Rambam and the Rif, Rabbi Yitzchak Alfasi, they learned Pshat in a Gemara later on that no, Chazal did not allow you to have Zeya, to sweat yourself, even though bathing yourself in Chamet Tveria is mutter. So they said you're not allowed to even bathe yourself in a place where the Chamet Tveria is covered. If the hot spring is covered over by a building, and therefore it's produced by a room, and therefore that room fills up with hot steam, you're not allowed to even bathe yourself in that water, because even though it's not in a keli, you're not allowed to bathe yourself there because you might sweat. That's how the Rambam and the Rif understand, which is difficult to understand because the whole shash why Chazal forbade Zeya sweating was only because you might come to bathe. Over here he's saying I'm not allowed to bathe in Chamet Tveria, which is really mutter, because you might come to sweat.
The opposite.
The opposite. But even they, obviously when there's no room there, it's just open hot springs, it wouldn't be a problem to bathe the Shabbos. The problem is only when it's covered. Halacha l'maisa were makel because the whole Issa of Rechitz on Shabbos only to Rabbanim. So the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch Rab passes clearly that we're makel like the Shittas and Rishonim that hold and interpret the Gemara that even if it's enclosed the hot water, natural springs, you're allowed to bathe yourself in it. That's l'gamei Chamet Tveria. Two more things. The Mordechai, one of the Rishonim, held that you're not allowed to bathe yourself in the Chamei Tveria, put your body in it, but you're allowed l'shtatif to pour it on you. Chazal only were mat to pouring, not bathing. So, but the Rishonim argue on this as well. No one holds in the Mordechai is a das yochid. And we say not only pouring is mutter, but even bathing is mutter, as long as it's not in a keli, an actual utensil. One more thing, the Hagoyis Mordechai is notes on the Mordechai. One of the Rishonim wrote notes on the Mordechai. It's not clear who it is. According to some authorities, it was a son of the Mordechai who wrote notes on the Mordechai. So he held Eina Chanami Chami Tveria is mutter. Chazal were matter it, even to bathe in it, it's mutter. However, really, Chazal, we saw originally, they did forbade it. They forbade Chami Tveria. They wanted to Assur it. But they saw that people weren't able to withstand. It was too much. It was too much of a harsh decree. The rule is by Chazal, whenever they make a decree, the decree has to be, majority of the oilam has to be able to accept it. Has to be within their ability. If Chazal made a decree, a takana or a gzeira, and they look around a little while later and they see, hey, it never took off, it was too hard for people to accept this decree. Only a minority of the nation took it upon it, not the majority. It's called a gzeira shein roi vatzibi yechel lamaba. It becomes batel. It becomes no longer a gzeira takana anymore. However, if roi vatzibi majority of the tzibur was able to hold on to it and keep it to the gzeira takana, it was kept. So over here by Chamei Tveria, that's what happened. Chazal kept on Assur more and more, to the point that they Assur the hot water of Tveria, Chamei Tveria. However, it came along, they saw that Tzibur, Rosh, Shein Adav, Yichon Lamid, they weren't able to handle it, so they were mattered. So it comes along that Goyis Mordechai and says a Chiddush. Eina Chanami, Chazal didn't Assur. But they really wanted to Assur it. So therefore, Toiv, it's better, it's not Assur, but better to stay away from it. Because that's what Chazal wanted. Comes along the Beis Yosef and is very sharp. Beis Yosef says, I can't understand this Hagoyis Mordechai. I can't understand them, B'chalal. The whole thing is not really Assur. It's only Assur because of a Gzeir of Chazal. We have to follow whatever Chazal tell us. The Torah tells us, Le'isuru, Yeminu Smoil, you have to follow Sha'al Avicha, Zakenecha, V'Gedcha. You have to follow Chazal. But over here, Chazal didn't make the Gzeira. They made it, they were Mavatal the Gzeira. You want to do something Chazal, it's as if someone would come and say, some people they're so accustomed to flipping on the lights when they walk into the room. On Shabbos, by accident, they flip the lights on. So a lot of people, what do? Some people like to put a piece of tape on, or they put a piece of metal on it, or whatever. They don't want the kids playing with it, so they put it on, and people should lean on the lights and turn it off on Shabbos. Is someone going to come and say now, everyone has to do this? You can't come and say that. Chazal never answered it. Even if people are accustomed to doing it, we don't have the koyach Chazal to make new decrees and enactments. It's a nice thing. If you want to keep yourself from being Mechal Shabbos, you personally want to do it, it's a nice, beautiful thing. But we can't say the word Assur.
A Rebbe could to his community.
The emes is that Goyis Mordechai, it's like a neder. People could take upon themselves things like a vow. But you can't say, you can take it upon yourself. You can take it upon yourself, but you can't say it's Assur. So the Ma'aseh Beis Yosef doesn't accept it. And the Goyis Mordechai himself never actually said it's Assur. He's a toiv limana. But his point of the matter is, he doesn't understand it. The whole thing, it's not like turning on lights on Shabbos is actual malacha. He did a malacha on Shabbos. Bathing in Chamei Tveria is not really Assur. It only would be a problem if it was a gzeira. But once it's no longer a gzeira, what issue is there if people do it? Just because Chazal wanted to, and they did at one point, but once they nullified the gzeira, there's nothing more to Assur. So that's the halacha. That there's not even an inyan of being, there's not even a chumrah. There's not even a chumrah of not bathing yourself in hot waters of Tveria.
So how we answer the mikveh?
The
Are we
mikveh.
going to hot mikveh?
Come tomorrow.
Should we make a special shiur on mikveh?
That's tomorrow.
It's interesting.
The emes we one time spoke about it, but if the oiler wants to again,
so
so
be
then
interesting.
Mitzvah next week we'll do a special shiur.
Stay tuned.
You hear every Monday?
Yeah. We'll do a special shiur on mikvahs, which is very problematic. And I'll just tell you one word. There was a Rav in Varsha, in Warsaw, Poland, which he said, there are more heterim it's more, you can find more heterim to go on a train on Shabbos than to go on a hot mikvah on Shabbos. However, he concluded, someone who goes on a train on Shabbos is considered a mechal Shabbos. Someone who goes on a hot mikvah Shabbos is called a chassid. So we gotta understand, but that's the irony of it. Irony of it. But we have to understand there is a lot of issues with going into hot mikvah Shabbos. It's not at all.
You can't take a hot shower, but you could go to
Maybe we should first go to the mikveh and then think about who's the Rav who said that.
Just drive the train. It's only the Rabbanon.
So
Operating system.
right, so he's already working it out. So Lamaisa, you know, that's this. What this Rav said is a very good statement. It's very interesting. Look, a lot of times you find certain things that even Hasidim and people that are very machmer a lot of things, but it becomes like a certain minig of theirs, they're very lenient. You know, you can have, say, let's say, you can take a lot of different groups have it. Let's say Chabad Hasidim will say, we don't sleep in the sukkah. What do you don't sleep in the sukkah? You're so machmer, you don't even want to drink water out of the sukkah, and even when it rains, you're not leaving the sukkah. Comes to sleep, you're not sleeping in the sukkah. So we understand chumras and hagim are very relative, and we have to take the proper perspective. Before we get into this, that we have to actually understand the issues. Saying Echanami, we one time went to the sugya a number of years ago, but Mitzvah we'll go through it again next week. The sugya of mikvahs, and it's not only a hot mikvah. The emes is after we deal with hot mikvahs, we have to understand even a cold mikvah is not so pashut. Like we said, you know, the minig was in the times that we showed him already not to allow bathing in cold water. Bathing in cold water itself, putting your whole body into submersing the body in cold water is also awesome. So even someone says, I'm not having a hot mikvah, what about the cold mikvah? That we could say, in Russia they didn't have hot mikvahs. So all the years, mostly in Europe they didn't have hot mikvahs. It's Warsaw, the Rav in Warsaw was that special. They must have had some hot mikvahs. I heard from a Chassidim in Russia, they never saw a hot mikvah till they left Russia. They never saw such a thing.
No, I'm saying, who came
In
up
general, there
with
was
this
no such
idea?
thing as clean, cold mikvahs. You know what a mikvah was. You know,
Is it a clean mikveh becomes a category?
There was a river.
but they had filters. You know,
There was a river, then there was no mikveh.
Let me tell you, for women to go to the mikveh in Europe, Mesidas Nefesh Mamish, nothing to discuss.
Yeah.
You can't even imagine the Mesidas Nefesh of women to go to the mikveh. Making the water hot was a whole to do. The Alter Rebbe invented a whole box on the river, a whole method how to make hot water,
Cold water.
how to have a hot mikveh for women in Shabbos. And he said one of the things that he feels most proud of in his life is the Alter Rebbe. He invented a method to make hot water. Those days they used to go in natural springs to the mikveh or in rivers.
It was cold and beer.
And it's freezing cold, and they used to go. The women would have to go in the middle of the night. They would go at night, right? And there was no lighting like there was today. And what about Shabbos Friday night? It was crazy. It was the whole situation was not to be
Who
understood.
accompanied them? Their husband or another woman?
They would have a woman there that would be in charge, and they would have to go. It was a real Mesidas Nefesh.
They have to see the build-up in Chicago mikveh. You were there, my daughter there. Unbelievable. It's beautiful. But they don't have so many women there. So you have to call the woman and she comes special to open it for you. But the mikveh inside, you spend
You have mikvahs today that are unbelievable.
That's not
How much? How much?
Not so much.
How much?
Maybe that's for the
And they
child.
say that in New Jersey, there's a place in New
I
Jersey.
think you meant 2 million.
The place in New Jersey, there are Chabad Shluchim. They built a mikvah.
Right.
They built a mikvah. Leilin Ishmas. They had a child that was Leilin Nifter. They built a mikvah, $2 million mikvah.
Where is
They
it?
say it's the fanciest mikvah in the United States.
It's what? It's
The fanciest mikvah. I haven't toured around. But
Where is it?
Bubba book claimer also.
the name is Kanelsky. The
Kanelsky.
shluchim. But I don't know which year.
No, so that's in Teaneck and Chris
Kanelsky.
Near there, near
It's
Teaneck.
it's in the area of Bergen County. I don't know which city.
Another very beautiful mikvah they say is in Cherry Hill.
Cherry
There's
Hill.
a lot of beautiful
What
mikvahs.
is Cherry Hill? What, the Atlantic?
Kanelsky is? No.
Oh, what is that?
The Atlantic Ocean?
I was reading
That's
the
nice.
shtick on the stove.
Let me tell you something. There are a lot of shluchim that go out to these places.
You have no choice.
Until they build a mikveh there, they even sometimes fly somewhere, or they actually use the ocean. They actually use the ocean. Not so pashit. There's a way how you have to consult with the Rav how to do it, but you go.
Can't just use the ocean, right?
I was by Shliach in Puerto Rico.
Let me tell you don't want to go to the ocean. Go to that night in the ocean, and they're going. You got to go all the way in to where the water goes a little lower, so you can dip.
So his wife for the last 15 years went to the in the ocean. Puerto Rico.
Yeah, but you're not going on Shabbos every time either.
There used to be a shliach in Alaska. Alaska, they had an army base. The United States had an army base in Alaska, Anchorage, Alaska, and because there was some Orthodox soldiers and chaplain, the army paid for a mikveh on the grounds many years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. They built a mikveh there, and when the shluchim went there, they were using this mikveh on the army base. However, eventually the army dismantled the army base. So they destroyed the mikveh. They had to make a very quick appeal, like about 15 years ago. I remember they made a tremendous appeal then. The Klal Yisrael, they were sent around everywhere. The Pasha built them quickly a mikveh because of people in the community there that were starting to keep Taras Mishpach and going to the mikveh, and then the mikveh was being destroyed. They tried to appeal to the army to leave the mikveh, but it didn't really work,
I was reading that the guy came to a store, a chosid, and he came to his friend's house. He didn't know he was a babbage of the kids. He said, before I go to the tzina for the Rebbe Rashab, I want to go to a mikveh, and I knew that in your house you have a mikveh. He told me where's the mikveh. He's scared that he was from KGB. He couldn't tell him. He said, if you don't tell me, all my work is for free. I'm not going to the Rebbe Rashab. I don't do that. Anyway, many years later, they met in 1970. These two met together. I said, told me where was the mikveh? He said, the room that you were staying.
Where? Where was it?
The room that he was staying.
I mean, there was a
mikveh, and he was scared to tell him.
Now they found in Toledo, in Spain, in Spain they kept you still have the Jewish quarter there. For 500 years there's no Jew living in Spain, unless there were Marranos that still had a yichus of Yidden, but no Yidden living in Spain. Right from the Inquisition, after the Inquisition, till after World War II, no Jew was legally allowed to live in Spain till after World War II, and now you can go. Now there's also not so many Jews living in Spain because there's no one there original. Anyone who's there they moved there.
Israelis.
Yeah, different business people that moved there. But in Toledo, you can go see the original Jewish quarter. Everything's exactly the same. The streets and the houses, you're not allowed to change anything. Hundreds of years old, and people live there in these houses and everything. In Europe, things are all the same. They have their big crosses there. When I was there, I asked. There was a non-Jewish guy who wanted to become a ger. He said he's from the Marranos. He has a way to track whatever. There's a lot of people in Spain that find themselves discovering that they're really from Marrano families. He gave us a story. He showed us over there that I asked him, what are these big salems over there, big crosses? He tells me that meant that the house is purged from Jewish the Marranos over there, Jewish people. So they put it up, still there. And he told me that non-Jewish people were doing renovations in their houses, and they found mikvahs.
Wow.
They found mikvahs in the basement.
And 5,000 years ago.
They found. He was running the Judaic. They have a Judaica store over there. There's no Jews living there. The Judaica store.
It's like a museum.
When I was there, I called up a shliach who lives in Madrid. There's a Lubavitcher shliach. I said, I'm in Toledo. Maybe you want me. I was on a stopover for a flight, and I went from Madrid to Toledo quickly just to take a look. And I said, maybe you want us to put on tefillin with someone here to do something. He's like, I told him, I see so many people look Jewish going around. And I asked him, the Jewish? They say, no. He tells me, it's no Jews. These people look Jewish because they have Marrano blood in them. People that look Jewish, but they're not Jewish. You go over, people look how much Jewish looking.
Maybe they are Jewish.
If their mother's mother all the way back, they could be Jewish.
Some of them are.
They have now a lot of books about it, and a lot of communities started discovering that they have practices, and they've been always going to the basement, lighting a candle. They have no idea why they're doing it, and they've been doing this for so many years. They don't know why they're doing it anymore. They don't even know they're Jewish anymore. They light a candle in the basement. They have now, even in Mexico, or these places where we're under Spanish rule, where there's also Marrano places, also different communities that came up and said that they're really Marranos. Very fascinating.
South America.
Parents.
The builder of Tashlet. The Rebbe told him he was Jewish from
Have to halachically prove it. They have their shuls there, the same shuls, sitting there. They have the shul the Rambam was. Yeah, they're sitting there, a few hundred, 500 years ago. They kept it, just to show what, like a museum, you know.
To the opposite, they utilized everything.
Except they kept, like in Prague, they kept the shul.